So America is much more corrupt than any African country. And I realized this as I got to the Tanzanian Kenyan border, right? Because the border police were incredibly corrupt. And it kind of opened my eyes to what the meaning of power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely, right? It opened my eyes to that meaning because at first I was thinking to myself, corruption has to do with, let's say, maybe two willing parties have to want to break a law or something. Or maybe even one party has to be intimidated, and that's how it goes through. But really, what corruption really is if someone has, let's say, power over you, right? Then they can try to exploit you, right? And that's really just the gist of it. When I was at the Kenyan border, for instance, they were like, hey, in order to get into this country, in order to get an ETA, right, travel document, travel permission into Kenya, you have to spend $50, right? And I kind of knew that. I looked on the line, and yeah, that's true. The only thing is this: you're in the middle of Tanzania, okay? There's no way for you to get US dollars, right? Nobody's paying you in US dollars. No bank is giving you, well, I'm not sure, but as far as I can tell, no bank was giving you US dollars. So you then have to give what you deem the equivalent, not what you deem the equivalent, but you have to give the equivalent to 50 US dollars, right? Now, 50 US dollars, or because I had my son with me, 100 US dollars comes up to like 250,000 Tanzanian shillings, or 260 at most Tanzanian shillings. However, they said, look, you got to give me 300,000 Tanzanian shillings. And I'm like, wait, why is that? Right? They said, look, we do the conversion. And the thing is this, like I said, with power, absolute power corrupts absolutely, right? Or power corrupts, right? The reality is that there was no recourse. There was no recourse. They could do any sort of conversion they wish. And if you don't like it, well, it sucks because you're in another person's system, right? You're following another person's laws. And honestly, the fault doesn't bear on the workers per se, although the workers are taking advantage of it. The fault bears on the government because the government actually lists the currency, a foreign currency. Because I had no issue paying in, because even when they said Kenyan shillings, the guy says, okay, let's convert it to 14,000 Kenyan shillings, right? When reality, it should have been 12,000, right? Or 12,600 or something like that, right? The point being that it's really on the government to list their own local currency, but they list a foreign currency, and that's wherein lies the issue. Because at the end of the day, you might say, well, do they really have to be market accurate, right? But of course, it's not a matter of being market inaccurate. It's a matter of, what can I get on top of this corruption, right? What can I get on top of this corruption? So, and like I said, it's like, you can't do anything. But here's the thing. Here's the reason why I say, well, this kind of opened my eyes to America, right? Because in America, you can buy politicians. The only difference between America and Africa, really, when it comes to buying politicians or buying policies or breaking laws, because that's another thing. When I came back into the country, they were like, hey, man, you could break a law and, you don't have to, you know what I'm saying? No, I don't want to, expose whatever. But the point is that, yeah, like, people with power can, like they have something you want. Like, it's basic market economics, right? What do you want? What do they want? Let's come to a compromise, right? Because what happened was that they were also looking at my passport and trying to see, did I overstay my visa? Because if I overstayed my visa, they would charge me, and my son, $600 each. Okay, $600 US each for overstaying our visas. Right now, on the flip side, they're also saying, hey, you know what? If you work with me under the table, right? If you work with me under the table, you might not have to pay $600 per se each, but you know, if I'm breaking it, you know what I'm saying? And so I'm just like, now of course I had to tell them, look, my shit's clean. Y'all don't got nothing on me, and my visas don't even expire yet. So if you really want some, trouble, I'll just fly to America if that's what you really want to say. You know what I'm saying? Because I got it. You know what I mean? You know. But there's a lot of people who don't approach the system clean. You know, there's a lot of people who are overstaying, and then they get played. And that's what the people are looking for. And again, like I said, both sides, Kenya and Tanzania, are listing the currency in foreign money. You know, so you see that the US dollar has that kind of pull, that kind of another power, right? Another power in corrupting. But you go back to the American government, and this is where it's important, right? The American government is being bought by lobbyists. And everybody knows this, plain sight. And the lobbyists are not like people, like opinion makers per se. They're not, you know, debaters who show up at Congress and just debate. No, they're people who are taking these congressmen out, these politicians out. They're taking these politicians out, and they're giving them favors. They're buying them stuff. They're saying, hey, you know what? If you look the other way on this, or if you get this economic contract, you make me the first in line for so on and so forth, or you give me this contract, so on and so on, right? Yeah, you know, come to this yacht party. You know what I mean? Come to this yacht party. Maybe sometimes come to this yacht party with children. I don't know. But come to this yacht party, you know? And that's really the big difference between the United States and Africa, really, right? In the sense that the budget required to corrupt is much higher. So usually when I'm at the US border, I don't really run into that sort of minor corruption, you know, because what these guys are asking me for is probably the equivalent of $10, $20, $30, right? I don't know, because I didn't really entertain it, but, you know, not that much. But now you got to say to yourself, well, what about the United States? Where does the corruption come in at the border? I don't see that. And then you realize all of these drug imports, all of these gun imports, all of these drug exports, all of these gun exports, right? All this illegal trading, all these human trafficking, all of that is bought and paid for by people on the inside. You know, and it always has been and always will be. And that's really the essence of this, you know, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely, right? Because especially when you look at the politicians and how the foreign lobbyists, right, and particularly, you know, big foreign lobbyists can have so much geopolitical influence because they say to themselves, look, these guys want, let's say dollars. Okay? Let's say dollars, right? These guys want dollars. These guys want gold, they want diamonds, they want shillings, they want shekels. Okay? They want what makes them like they want that. And like I said, the difference between America and Africa is that America's just more expensive. You know? To buy the corruption is just a little more expensive. And just to put a point, it goes like this. How many millionaires, right, are crossing the border into America, right, or doing trade with America? And then how many of the millionaires are crossing the border between Kenya and Tanzania, right? So who can you really extract that many resources from, except for the millionaires, let's say, right? And with the higher density of millionaires going through that other border, right, the American border, that's why you would have a higher buyout, right? Now, they're not going to be able to extract from me, like I said, you know, the difference between 300,000 shillings and 250,000 shillings is, you know, maybe, what, you say 20%, right? So instead of $120, I'm giving $120, right? but that's okay. You know, that's just $20 exploit, right? In America, you're getting a much bigger cut than $20, and that's really why not only America has more corruption, but that's also, it's also why we should stop saying, hey, America is corrupt. I mean, Africa's corrupt, and really just get back to, hey, look, okay, let's say this is the nature of man, right? Let's say this is the nature of man. Now, what does that mean for you? What do you need to do? It means that you have to, because I before I was saying, hey, corruption, there being these two willing parties, right? And the thing is this, I wasn't really a willing party to this whole 300K. I had no choice, right? I wasn't really a willing party, and I mean, and the next one I could refuse, but this one I couldn't refuse, because the guy threw a hissy fit. He was all right, man, just fuck you, I don't negotiate, blah, blah, whatever, just bring the US dollars then. And he knows I can't get US dollars, right? And the law was that I had to bring US dollars anyway. So it is what it is, right? And I was stranded at the border, so it's like I had no choice. So it's not even, but the thing is this, the reality is that, and a lot of people were, talking to me on the side like, hey, look, you got a choice for doing a little under the table. You know what I mean? But, and because I didn't want to do under the table, that's where I got hit with the big bill. Now, the point is this, you got to say to yourself, all right, look, the nature here is corruption, okay? The nature here is corruption. So, or the nature everywhere is corruption. I mean, where it isn't, that's fine, but for the most part, you're going to find that it is, right? And if so, you need to have the resources to pull off some corruption, okay? You need to have the resources to pull off some corruption. And that's really what it comes down to. So I would advise you, get your resource game up, okay? And I don't mean, when I say resources, I'm not talking about, diamonds and you don't have those. I guess it's the Adam Clayton Powell Jr. who said, what's in your hand? Or what's in your pocket? No, what's in your hand? You gotta look at what's in your hand and then say to yourself, look, what do people want that's in my hand? And that's how you can engage with the powers that be to actually save you money. Like if I had taken the first deal, I would have probably saved a lot of money because I wouldn't have, I don't want to go into too much detail. You guys should ask. But the point is, or I could go into detail on Discord, right? But the point is, if you don't, like if you really want to save money, or you really want to save your resources, let's put it that way, right? I just said it. You want to save your resources, you got to know who wants your resources and where. And that's really the gist of it.